Welcome back to CNN. The first public hearing on the possible use of force in Syria starts on Capitol Hill in roughly an hour. Secretary of State John Kerry, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, will face the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Our Dana Bash is on Capitol Hill. Dana, you're there with Senator Bob Menendez, the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Does he share President Obama's optimism that ultimately this authorization will pass?
Well, thanks, Shank, very much, and thank you, Senator, Mr. Chairman, for allowing us to come into your committee room an hour down until you start, which is what is going to be a very incredibly important moment here. Jake's first question is a very good one, which is, do you share the president's optimism? Now we're hearing from the optimism from the Senate Majority Leader that this can pass, authorization can pass the Senate.
I believe so, and I believe today will be an important part of that. When we have the case made, both on the intelligence that clearly shows that the Assad regime committed a heinous act in violation of international law by having chemical weapons attack innocent civilians, including the death of 400 children. And then when we hear the follow-on response to what we do in response to that attack and the consequences of inaction, I think that the Senate will be supportive of a resolution for a limited use of force.
Now, you just came this morning from a meeting with the president and a whole group of your colleagues, Democrats and Republicans, but afterwards you had kind of a little side meeting with the president and your Republican counterpart, Bob Corker. Can you give us a little news about what you discussed with the president?
Yeah. Well, I think the president wanted to get a sense of how we are looking to proceed. We wanted to get a conversation about the outlines of what the resolution would look like. But he said this is a momentous occasion, and I trust both of you working together in a bipartisan fashion to strike the right balance and help the country achieve its goals.
Now, you are working with the Senate Majority Leader and others to change the language of this authorization in order to make it more palatable so that people can actually, you can get the votes for it. Many of your colleagues thought it was too broad. Can you give us some insight into how you're changing that?
Well, it's a work in progress, Dana, but here's our goal. We want to create a balance between giving the president the power to have the decisive action he needs to take in Syria to punish the Assad regime, to deter and degrade it, and at the same time not make this an open-ended commitment.
So will there be a time frame, an expiration date?
There certainly will be clauses with reference to no boots on the ground, and in some respect, there'll be somewhat of a framework of time. Obviously, you know, we have to have preparations for if there is any response by the Assad regime, giving the president the flexibility there. I would say that if there is a future use of chemical weapons, creating the opportunity for that to be responded to. But I think we will strike the balance in which members on both sides, those who want to be more aggressive or more robust, and those who are concerned, will find common cause.
Now, I just want to give our viewers a little sense of, this is obviously your chair. It says it right there on the nameplate. This is where you're going to be sitting, but the man who is going to be sitting in the middle here in the witness table, John Kerry, just 9 months ago, he was sitting over there in that chair. Yeah. So how much does that play into the dynamic here? You have a very heavy lift because you're going to be leading all of these senators in questioning these very important witnesses. But John Kerry knows what it's like to be in your chair. How much is that going to help, or what is that going to do to the dynamic of this hearing?
Well, I think Secretary Kerry, having the experience of being a senator for a long time and being the chair of the committee, understands the dynamics of the committee, understands the thinking of members, and understands what case he has to make in order to persuade a cross-section of members on both sides of the aisle. I think that's a big plus for us. He's a tremendous advocate, and he knows the Senate, and he knows senators, and that's going to be very helpful.
Now, Chuck Hagel, who's going to be sitting right next to him, also was a senator. When he had his return here for his confirmation hearing, didn't go so well. He kind of, it was almost like he forgot what it was like to be a senator. How much is his influence going to really matter here? And my guess is, just from talking to your colleagues, that a lot of the questions are going to be for him and General Dempsey, because there is a lot of concern about the military operation.
Well, I think both of them are going to be incredibly important because I think there is a growing consensus over the intelligence and the fact that Assad committed these crimes. The question members have is, what does this military action look like? How long will it take? At the end of the action, what can we expect? And I think those questions will go to both Secretary Hagel and General Dempsey.
Well, we'll look for you to be chairing this hearing. You'll be watching it on our network as well. Thank you very much, Jake. We'll toss it back to you. Thanks again for having us here, sir.
Good.
Thanks, Dana Bash.